Morning all, my name is Dan Johnson. I'm the principal of Equitable Law, Solicitors for Business, and I'm just having a play this morning with a new tool that I have purloined from somewhere. Forgive me if I'm not looking into camera and doing all the necessary, but I thought it would be useful for me to use it for a purpose that I want to have, which is to sort of just talk about things business-like and the interaction of legal with it. It's because I find myself quite often giving the same advice over and over again. Always had a focus upon entrepreneurial clients who are growing their business rapidly. It is a case of numerous clients of mine who sort of come to me at really quite early stages in their development, etc., and we talk about what they can do to help themselves grow. And it's one of those things where if people listen to me and they're prepared to take my advice and indeed invest a little bit in their business, they can suddenly go on and achieve quite remarkable growth with what they're trying to do. I have clients who go from pretty much startup to multi-million pound valuations and taking investments at those sort of figures, or indeed selling themselves out. Very frustrating, because I have other clients who don't invest into their business, and I find myself seeing their financial results go through year after year, and they're just not getting anywhere. Indeed, I sort of had clients, it's painful to watch, but it happens. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about this morning is terms of trading. It's a very sort of broad description of a particular subject, and it's really the way in which you close and conclude your contracts, your trading arrangements with your customers. Time and again I see people who come to me who haven't really got their head around what needs to be done. There is an absolute balance to be struck between spit on a handshake, which is a perfectly valid way of sort of forming contracts and agreements in English law, and if you are driving the process, however, making sure that you are as best protected as possible, so that you have a full shield and also a sword within your armoury, while at the same time doing it in a relatively informal fashion. I'd love to show you some of the examples of the sort of contract formation documentation that's brought to me. I can't easily do that without breaching confidentiality, but people will buy things off the internet which are just dreadful from a practical perspective of what they're seeking to do, quite apart from the fact that they are not legally valid for what you're doing. It really is very little point trying to sell goods and services in the UK if you're using the format of an agreement which you pull down from the internet of something that's been drafted in Tennessee, and not even recently at that. So what you need for trading purposes is not what you necessarily think you need. And lots of people come to me and say, I need this, I need the other, I need a reseller agreement, I need a distribution agreement, and so on and so forth. What businesses actually want and need is the following, if I've got this right, and there we go. Okay, every business needs to have a set of terms of business, or the small print, if you like. And this is something which is not intended to be negotiated, not intended to be particularly dwelt upon as part of the formation process. This is in front of you a document, and it's actually the one that has a lot of text in it. Let's look how many pages this is. It goes through, and it is 15 pages long, this particular one. This can sit on your website, probably quite a good place to have it. Also have it as a pre-printed form, so you tend to provide it in a PDF format and reduced to very small typeface PDF, so that people don't start redrafting things and so on and so forth. But it's there, and you can bring it into the agreement, and it deals with all the necessary that you need to have. The problem is that if you don't put it into small print, etc., then what you're doing is you're presenting a really long document to those you want to form contracts with. And the people that you tend to present it to, if they're in a larger organisation, which may well be the sort of client that you want to form trading relationships with, will pass it through to legal, and it will get bogged down, and those you trying to deal with, won't feel able to conclude contracts with you because they're under a direction not to agree something of that nature. So you need to get this away from producing a long document, although at the same time having, as I say, all the relevant shields and the swords that you need for your trading purpose moving forward. This is the terms of business that this firm has sort of settled upon, and they deal with, these are for trading in the UK, which is where the vast majority of my businesses, or the businesses I deal with, come from. I am an English solicitor based here in London. You can use it wider than that, but that's its particular focus. You need to choose a legal system into which it's going to sit. And then this set of terms of business will cover you both for supply of goods and for supply of services. Quite often they're mixed together in a modern economy. And also this covers this sort of strange hybrid that there is of sort of digital products. So you sort of providing videos or things of that description, software and so on and so forth, which these can all be mixed together. And this also covers your trading both on B2B, business to business, and B2C. A lot of EU legislation has come into this area, particularly over the last 30 years, that protects consumers in a way that other businesses don't get the benefit of. But you really want one document that covers everything and makes it very clear how it breaks down between the particular type of product or service supplied, and indeed who the customer is and what their particular rights are. Now, it does make it longer, of course, but that's where you get to. And then there's a lot of, for want of a better term, good stuff in here. Stuff that you don't want to be really thinking about when you make the contract, but if something comes up, then it is something to revert back to and sort of see what is the sort of balanced situation that was sort of being proposed in the small print, covering a lot of stuff that you would want to have. Quite an interesting one that's cropping up constantly at the moment is the problems with supply chains, etc. So people are making contracts to supply, and then they're missing a particular part of what's required in the manufacturing or build process, and you're getting delays and so forth. Other stuff such as the inflation which is out there in the economy at the moment. What abilities do you have in terms of increasing your costs if need be? And then you just try and deal with everything in terms of how you can validly end the contract. It's there as it's going past. If for whatever reason that's what you need to do, if somebody's not paid you, then you want a very clear ability to end that contract quickly and easily. And it's all in there, and it's all there, as I say, small print, dealing with all the various issues that you would want to deal with, seeking to exclude your liability to the extent that you can do, and then there is that particular agreement. So that's your terms of business, your small print. And then the next thing that you want and need is you need the actual agreement which you form with the particular customer. And this will depend upon whether you are taking orders over the internet, or indeed if you're doing longer or more sort of traditional contract formation with your customers. But you will want something that you can clearly set down in a single document the important terms which you're agreeing with your customer in a simple, straightforward manner that customer is going to be able to read quickly, easily, understand what they are agreeing to, and hopefully sign off on it. So you end up with this particular example here, and it will vary from company to company. You cannot buy this off the internet with any degree of sort of certainty that it will work for you, and you constantly have to try and keep amending and changing this so that it meets your purposes. The terms of business are more a sort of periodic update to check that it's still in accordance with law. But this statement of agreement, as I call it here, or contract, or whatever you want to call it, is very much shorter. This one is 3 pages long, and I could probably, at a push, get it down to 2 by using a smaller typeface and so on and so forth, if that's what I wish to do. And you'll end up with it containing just the principal terms. So it will be your details there, you the client, these circumstances, the supplier. You then need to put in the details of whom you're dealing with. Very, very important that you very clearly identify who it is that you're going to enter into a contractual relationship with. And this actually is the point at which you should really be having a sort of credit review of them and checking that they are good to pay you, to tell the truth. Number of people I've seen over the years who sort of supplied products to people who are on the cusp of going bust, or indeed, a fraud of some description, is really quite surprising. It's very pertinent, of course, when you've got salesmen who are on commission and so on and so forth. But if salesman commission is due on a paid when paid, they still have an interest in checking that the actual customer is going to pay. And then very sort of generic box there where you can actually put down what it is that you're going to supply. I mean, this could be a one-off sale. It really could be a one-off sale, or it could be supply a product over a period of time. So so much product per month, and so on and so forth. Then this one is a longer term contract. So this is the sort of thing where you've agreed that you will supply products on a favourable price, provided you've got a term during which you will be supplying it. Don't go overboard on the elaborateness of this, but you really just want a minimum period. This one's saying 12 months, and then a certain amount of sort of notice thereafter, so that everybody can just adjust to sort of the ending of a trading arrangement. There's commencement date in there. Then, because you build this for clients, you recognise there will be sort of special terms. So heck knows, it could be pay within 14 days, you get a 5% discount on the headline price, sort of thing, just as an example and so on. But these things will change over time, so it's best to have a sort of just generic special terms. And then the most important provision within any agreement, what you're hoping to get paid for it. Very, very clear as to the particular amounts and the periods which it relates to. Make it clear that prices being quoted are excluding VAT, or indeed including VAT. One or the other is sort of what you need to have. And when the invoice is due for payment terms. Because I'm acting here for the supplier, payable upon the date of invoicing. And then goes on, there's a recital there which actually sets out actually what this particular service was, Staff Training Solutions. Then it has some very, very short operative provisions within the agreement. Okay, so it makes it clear that there are some definitions there are pertinent provisions, pertinent terms, which are those, the capitalised terms used here on the front, that this statement of agreement or the contract incorporates the terms of business, that other long document that I was talking about, and makes it clear that also the appendix which goes in here, which I'll show you in a minute, has actually got the specific terms in it. Did I call it specific terms? Special terms, please forgive me. And then this actually was limited to just services, but it can be adapted quite quickly and easily, products and services. Then the most important provision, as I say, the actual price, the monetary arrangement, just make it very clear there, and that refers back to the first page within the particular agreement. And then it's always wise to get your bank details in every which way, on your invoices, on your contracts, everywhere. don't give clients the opportunity to not pay you because they claim not to know what and where they need to send it. And then finally, what would be known as the signature page, and signed on behalf of both parties in this particular formation that I've got here. The reason behind that being to make it clear that there is an intent to be legally bound on both parties' behalf. So then you get a signature in there. Always quite wise to get the name printed on there is actually signed. It's quite surprising how many times there's a sort of scribble on a document, nobody quite knows who's signed it, and then just adding their positional title so that you get some indication as to their ostensible authority to enter into the agreement, and then date it as well, that intention to be bound. And then this draft here, the additional agreed terms, it all needs a bit of a tidying up. These are the special terms we talked about that you can add in there, which are part of the negotiation process. And who knows, with each client you deal with, as I say, you'll suddenly come up and you're dealing with a cash-rich company, you start negotiating discounts for early payments and things of that description. And that's how you get your contracts formed in businesses. It's a case of, as I say, I produce something very similar for numerous clients. This particular business involved, very successful, achieved huge amounts of turnover on the back of it. Other, small consulting businesses that I act for use it. They're sort of running around the Middle East, signing up sort of, trading terms with cement factories and so on and so forth. And they can deal with that because it's a very short, simple document that the people can sort of, deal with in the bar in the Hilton sort of thing. While there is also that other document that I showed you, the terms of business behind it, which is here, which is, dealing with the smaller matters, the matters that you don't want to start negotiating over, but they're all good to know. And between those two documents, you are good to trade. That's what you need. That's what you should be seeking to have in place for your businesses. And if you'd like some help with it, do please come and talk to me. I sort of produce a number of these every year for clients who come and ask for them, and I think they find them extremely useful from what I can see. As I say, heartbreaking to see people who won't invest in getting documentation like this in their business. That's the end of my recording.